Welcome back, and what an opportunity for us to have back with us today. Erich Pratt, he serves as in the capacity of the Director of Communications for Gun Owners of America. And shortly after getting his master's degree from Regent University, he went to work for the GOA and has been there for quite some time and helping us to get a handle on all this. Erich, good to see you, my friend. How are you? Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you. Doing real well, Erich.
Well, I don't know where to start with all this. Ever since these tragic shootings, the administration is calling for more and more gun control, and the more he calls for gun control, the more the gun sales go up. Is that what you're seeing out there?
Oh, yeah. He has rightly been claimed or dubbed the gun salesman of the decade. It is really astounding. On Black Friday alone, there was 185,000 sales of firearms, and I'm pretty sure that broke a record. But certainly gun purchases have been up. Concealed carry is up since he came into office. Concealed carry permit holders have tripled in number. And it's interesting that that has happened at the same time that the murder rate has been falling. So we literally see more guns in good people's hands and less crime. And, you know, interestingly enough, there was a poll, ABC, Washington Post poll just released this week that showed that the American people feel that the better way to respond to the terrorist threat is actually people carrying firearms as opposed to any other means, including stricter gun control.
President Falwell, Liberty University, said to his students, "Arm up." Were you surprised?
We were pleasantly really grateful to see that. There's a student group on campus that's been advocating this for quite some time, and it was good to hear that you know, the President Falwell said, you know, I've heard from the students, and we're going to make this a go. This is really the way to handle this. We want to remove all the gun-free zones. And by the way, speaking of gun-free zones, you know, those were passed with the idea we're going to put up a sign. It's going to say no guns are allowed here, and that's going to keep people safe. People are going to feel safe. It's actually done just the opposite, because if you go back to 1950, all the public mass shootings in this country, except for two, have occurred in these criminal safe zones, these gun-free zones. And, you know, lo and behold, we found that criminals don't obey the law. Who would have thought, right? But certainly that was the case in San Bernardino and in any of the recent big shootings that you can think of, even from this summer, the one in the South Carolina church, the one in the Oregon Community College, the one in the Lafayette Theater, the one at the Tennessee military installation, and on it goes. All of them were by law gun-free zones, and we're not seeing that these laws in any way are discouraging bad guys from taking guns into these areas. In fact, if anything, looking at the evidence, you can really make the case that they look for these areas because they want to be the only one with a firearm. And, you know, it's sad because the president just doesn't get it. Right after the California mass shooting, he was in Paris and he told the Parisians, I mean, go figure, for him to tell them that shootings like that we had in California just don't happen in other countries. Wow. And he was telling this to the people of Paris, who just less than a month before had their, in fact, in that one shooting in Paris, more people were killed in their public mass shooting than we've had killed all year long in mass shootings here, which once again just underscores the fact this approach of banning guns the way Paris or the way France has done, very draconian gun bans doing them.
Let me ask you this, Erich. I want to skip ahead and we'll come back. This president's pretty bent on doing something about this, and given his record of executive orders, at least legislating through executive orders with no pushback from Congress, what do you think he may attempt to do between now and the time he leaves office?
Well, there's a lot of things that are on the table, and there have been articles pointing out how he's commissioned his legal experts to scour the law, looking for ways to, you know, find loopholes and things that he could exploit by executive fiat. Two of the things that, of course, have been in the news that have been discussed of universalizing, or let's say disbarring people from the terror watch list or no-fly list from being able to purchase firearms. Now, the first one, universal background check, that would be pretty hard to certainly to enforce by executive fiat. And you know, the reason why gun owners opposes it, first of all, in principle, if you have a God-given right to do something that's constitutionally protected, you shouldn't be getting or be forced to get permission from the government in order to exercise that right. We don't do that with First Amendment. We don't do that to pastors or preachers. You know, we don't do it with any other freedom where people are forced to get permission. And certainly, it's not going to work. I mean, look at California, which has universal background checks. They have in fact, they have a 10-day waiting period before you can buy a firearm. Well, what happens when your killers have a clean record, as we saw in San Bernardino? They passed their background checks. They were able to buy firearms. And so once again, we're going to see that the criminally minded aren't going to be stopped, and it's only going to end up registering law-abiding gun owners. But the other thing is really problematic, and it maybe is something that he could pull off via executive fiat, and that's using lists of people, like people on the terror watch list, no-fly list. Well, why would Gun Owners of America oppose using that list to deny people the right to firearm? They're not convicted of anything. We even have congressmen who have ended up on the list. There are almost 100 agents from the Department of Homeland Security who have somehow wound up on that list. They're free to carry firearms themselves at work, but they're nevertheless on that list. And we frequently hear time and time again, we don't know how these people get on the list. We don't know how they get off the list. So to use a list where you could just have wholesale names of people and groups just thrown onto this list to deny them the ability to buy a firearm is particularly heinous. And oh, by the way, the two San Bernardino killers, they were not on either one of the no-fly or terror watch lists, so it wouldn't even have prevented them from buying firearms.
Let me say to our viewers and listeners, Eric's website is gunowners.org, gunowners.org, if you want to learn more about the Gun Owners Association. Eric, overall, do you feel that Americans are buying this gun control, or are they going just the opposite?
They're actually going just the opposite way, and we believe the American people are even more pro-gun than ever, and polls are showing that, like the one I mentioned, where now a plurality actually favor concealed carry over stricter gun control. We're seeing that in the way people are purchasing firearms, the way more concealed carry permits. Even sheriffs all over the country, sheriffs are saying the way you respond to terrorism is to start carrying concealed, and we're seeing sheriffs in many different places encouraging their citizens to carry. In fact, there's even one in Missouri, a sheriff in Missouri who is now giving a discount. They've cut the price almost in half. You know, all the fees, et cetera, that you have to go through to get a concealed carry permit. They've cut it almost in half because he said, I want more people carrying firearms. That's the answer to the terrorist threat. And, you know, think about it. If there had been just one good guy with a gun, that could have made a tremendous difference at San Bernardino. We've seen this all over the country. A hospital in Darby, Pennsylvania, a doctor stop in Youngstown, Ohio, a barbershop in Philadelphia. There was a pastor in a church in Florida not too long ago, an Uber driver in Chicago. A guy was on a street corner firing into the crowd, and this Uber driver had a concealed carry permit, used his firearm, shot the guy 6 times, ended the threat. We've seen over and over again where the police, and it's no fault of their own, they can't get there in time to protect us. But the American people, being armed and able to protect themselves, can stop these things from happening before they get way out of hand.
Is it true more and more women are getting permits?
It is, and I don't know what the specific figures are on it, but I've seen the reporting all over the place that more and more women are buying firearms. In fact, I even know that anecdotally. Women who, were relatively conservative and believed in the right to keep and bear arms issue, but themselves weren't ones that wanted to, walk around packing heat. They've told me they now want to be able to carry a firearm. And so, this is something that I feel, if I'm hearing this quite a bit, it's happening happening all over, and reporters are reporting on this, that it's exactly what's happening. And so, yeah, it's men, women all over the country in droves. The numbers are just through the roof, the number of concealed carry permit applications.
Oh, every time Congress takes this issue on and try to get elected on something that would result in some form of gun control, I know that you, the Gun Owners Association, the NRA, come out with a variety of ads, and Congress gets turned over. That's what happened in 2010. I mean, they basically got thrown out over the gun issue. And going into this presidential cycle, on the left side, Hillary Clinton, she's calling for more gun control than Barack Obama. Do you think it'll backfire?
Absolutely. And in fact, it's ironic that she's doing it because her husband learned the lesson back in 1994 when he lost control of the Congress, when the Democrats were kicked out in droves. And he repeatedly said, it was his pushing the gun issue and signing the Brady bill and the ban on certain semi-automatic firearms that cost him, because many pro-gun Democrats crossed over and voted Republican all over the country. So there was that experience in '94, and then again in 2000, Vice President Gore, in running for president, said his vice presidential running mate Lieberman is the one who said it was the gun issue that cost us. He said there were a lot of Democrats who agreed with us on every issue except for one, and it was the gun issue, and they voted Republican because of Gore's pushing the issue. And you know, for whatever reason, the Democrat Party has amnesia on this issue. They just can't help themselves because they fundamentally believe, their worldview says that government should control things, run things, fix things. And so it's just natural for them to think that, well, they're going to take care of our defense, and so you don't need those guns. And so that's why you see the New York Times, for the second time in 100 years, running an editorial on the front page. And what was the message that was so important that they had to put their editorial on the front page? It was gun confiscation, that people are going to have to give up their guns, certain types of guns. We can't allow law-abiding citizens to have these guns anymore. And that's really the approach that Hillary Clinton has taken. She doesn't come out as openly as the New York Times did, but when you hear her say, you know, what Australia has done really works, which, by the way, it hasn't. But when they speak that way and they talk about Australia, and we should consider it here, which is exactly what she has said, that is gun confiscation. That is what Australia did. And so it's a very clever way of saying we need to consider gun confiscation.
Eric, I got about 40 seconds. Give us a pitch on the GOA for membership.
Oh, absolutely. Well, the easiest way to do that is go to our website at gunowners.org, gunowners.org. If you're not familiar with Gun Owners, also sign up for our free email alerts. You will see what we're doing on the front lines. We heavily involve our activists. That's what's been so dramatic and effective in killing bad legislation at the federal level. So sign up for our free email alerts. But for $20, you know, very reasonable. You can become a member for a year. Certainly encourage you to go there. Also, we're on Facebook at Gun Owners as well.
All right, again, that's gunowners.org, gunowners.org. Well, Eric, let's stay in touch. As we get into this last year of this administration, I can't help but think we're going to hear and see a lot of attempts to restrict gun ownership. And I know that you and your organization are right on it, so I look forward to having you back a lot as we talk about it, okay? Merry Christmas to you, my friend.
Same to you. Thank you so much, Perry.
Okay. And again, that's gunowners.org. Check it out, gunowners.org. We'll see you next time on Focus Today.
I'm Paulina Leiser, producer of Focus Today. Thank you for watching this video, and make sure to check our other videos at theDove.us.